Isn't this exciting? We've identified a chapter that is in um, total succession, and we've identified a verse or verses that we're on right now. Two, maybe three. Let's find out. Daniel chapter 8 gives us so much more information about this very moment in time. Now, Daniel chapter 8 also talks about a war between Persia and Grecia. However, Daniel 8 also mentions a king from Media. Oh my gosh, so who is this? So,
Good question.
Daniel chapter 8, verses 1 and 2 is like an intro. So let's get beyond that, and then we get into our day. Verse 1. In the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Suzanne in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Eli. Okay, verse
Okay.
3. This is our day now. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and I saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. He sees this imagery. Thankfully, an angel of God gives us the interpretation. Verse 20. And the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So, back around the year 2000, knowing that Khomeini had been in power since 89, um, and that he didn't become higher than anyone type of a deal. We were waiting for someone to become higher than him. And so I knew that Khomeini had to be the king from Persia. And that tied in with Daniel chapter 11, verses 2 and 3. And so ever since the year 2000, I was watching the ancient Medea area to see who would become higher than Khomeini year after year after year. So around the year 2000, waited and waited and waited. And then in 2016, there's this area,
Turkey. Turkey.
there's this area that is part of Medea called Turkey. And there was a person by the name of Erdogan. And Erdogan caught my attention because he was acting like a dictator and he was acting like a Hitler. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could see after some some years how maybe he could become higher than Khomeini, but Khomeini was worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. So I just was wondering, okay, could Erdogan eventually fulfill that? Well, then it was July 15th, 2016.
Okay.
I was walking out to my truck Friday morning, and the news came on about a coup attempt on Erdogan. And I just laughed, shook my head, looked up to God, and said, oh my gosh, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I did not see that coming. Who is going to become higher than Khomeini? And the next day, Saturday, July 16th, 2016, Erdogan was still in power. And so I go, how is this going to play out? The next day, July 17th, 2016, Erdogan fulfilled prophecy. Erdogan fulfilled verse 3. Muslim scholars worldwide declare Erdogan to be the supreme leader for the entire Muslim world.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. So he's the leader of Turkey, right?
Yep.
But now, how are you declaring that he is the leader of the whole Muslim world? Where does that come from?
So they have meetings over there from time to time for all the Muslims to go over there and meet and everything. But the Muslim scholars worldwide have recognized him as being the supreme leader of the entire Muslim world.
Okay. Okay. I got you. I got you.
So, so prophecy fulfilled. He became higher than Kamini. Verse 3 fulfilled. So now the plot thickens. What's verse 4? Look at this. And I saw the ram, this is Kamini and Erdogan, pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. Yeah, in Daniel chapter 11, verse 3, I always like to point out, and I didn't do it this time, but in that verse 3, it talks about the mighty king uh, and shall stand up or whatever, and his dominion will become great, and he'll do according to his will. So that wording in Daniel chapter 11, verse 3 is ties right in with Daniel chapter 8, verse 4. And but now uh, think about Erdogan and Khamenei since about August of 2014 when Erdogan became president. Remember ISIS? Remember how the United States was fighting ISIS? Well, Turkey was fighting ISIS, and Iran was fighting ISIS. And when Turkey and Iran was fighting ISIS, they would go into Syria, they would go into Iraq, and then of course Iran went into Gaza and all these other places, and they would not only bring military and all that, but they would also meddle uh, in politics in those areas as well. And so this verse 4 has been in prophecy of fulfillment for over a decade. We can see we are on verse 4 right now of Daniel chapter 8.
Okay.
Now, the plot thickens, and it's the mic drop coming up.
Okay.
All right, so this talks about them pushing to the northwest and south. Now, look at verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, a he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. What is this talking about? The angel says the rough goat is the king of Grecia. Who's Grecia?
The United States.
So that would be the president of the United States. But wait a second, look at this. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. We've had many presidents.
Yeah.
Why is the angel talking about this? Because the angel is trying to get us to focus on a very, very specific time. And that time is right this moment, right now.
As in
You guys
Trump.
don't have to wait for the 25 years like me or whatever. You're coming in right at the time where you're going to be seeing this. And uh, and so now, so what's going on right now over in Iran and west of Iran? Trump is loading up the battleships and the carriers, and he's loading up the F-16s and the F-35s, the B-52s. The B-2s, the six of them that were there, they just flew back away from there today. Um, And then he's been flying in cargo plane full of military equipment. And of course, they have all those Tomahawk missiles over there as well on the west side of Iran. And
All on water, not on the ground. All on water.
yeah, so verse 5 again. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So now it gets even more interesting. What's going to happen next? Let's go ahead and reverse this.
Well, what's the notable horn between his eyes?
Well, it's kind of interesting, tongue in cheek, kind of a joke. But some people refer to Trump as the GOAT, the
Greatest
greatest
of
of
all
all
time.
time. Yep, yep. But you got this imagery, and the angel is giving us the interpretation. And he's saying, this is that person. This is that. So Grisha represents the US. The horn
And
represents the king, the
and
president.
his name being Trump is like a trumpet, and that's a notable horn between his eyes.
There's a nice connection there. Now, um, in Daniel chapter 7, 8, and 11, and Revelation chapter 17, there's over 40 unique individuals who are referenced regarding our time, not ancient time, our time. Over 40 of them. If you want to have a ton of fun, take your camera, put it on record, and ask your friends how many of the 40 plus can they identify. And they'll give you the blank look like a deer in a headlight. And create expressions. You can do a little collage with all the different expressions. And you go, but wait, you do believe that Christ is going to come back soon, you said, right? Yeah. But you can't identify any of the 40 plus? No. But you believe that Christ will return in power and glory when all the prophetic events leading up to his glorious return has been fulfilled as promised. Yeah. But you can't identify any of the four. No. You see a problem here?
Oh, I've seen that problem for some time, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And okay, so now let's see what this he-goat does. Verse 6. And he, the he-goat, Trump, came to the ram, that's Erdogan and Kamini, that had the two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram that to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Does that sound like a Trump attack?
It sure does. And victory, too. Or
Absolute.
am I reading it wrong?
No, you are totally right. It's a huge attack by Trump, decisive attack by Trump. And my take is that Trump always talks about how he loves the Turkey people. He talks about how he loves the Iranian people and how they're just bad. They're under a bad regime, you know, and they're being oppressed. And so and now about 2 months ago when when Trump started to attack uh, Houthis, one of the things that he did is he went after some strategic weapon areas, but he also took out many of the Houthis leaderships. I go,
Okay.
wow, that's a warm up of what's going on over here. But now here's the other thing, is that he's not only to remove Khamenei, but he's to remove Erdogan. And right now, he's loading up everything against Khamenei. But what's going on with Erdogan? So, about 2 months ago, Trump congratulated Erdogan in doing something that no one's been able to do for over 2,000 years, and that is to conquer Syria. At the same time, Netanyahu, Israel, is saying, no way. I'm not going to have you next to me. Uh-uh. And uh, and so it just so happens that Netanyahu has a really close, powerful friend named Trump. And so we get to see headlines of the future with these prophecies. We can now see that it is going to play out where Erdogan is going to be taken out as well. And, it might not be absolutely shaping up right now, but Daniel chapter 11, verse 2, has been in play for 99 years. And verse 3 of Daniel chapter 8 was in play for over a decade. And and now we're seeing how verse 4 had been playing out for over a decade. And so these things are going to play out. We know the chapter and verse where we're at. Isn't this exciting?
Yeah, it is.
But now the mic drop. So after Trump takes out Khamenei and Erdogan, then he gets stronger. But
Trump
then
gets stronger or Erdogan gets stronger?
Erdogan's gone. Khamenei's
Okay.
gone. They're removed from power, to say the least. But look at verse 8. Therefore, the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones towards the four winds of heaven. Look at what the interpretation is. Verse 22. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation and not in his power.
Yeah.
It's talking about the split up of the United States. This is huge. This is huge.
Into four kingdoms.
Yeah, and so you can see there on the chart, I have Grisha area 1, 2, 3, 4, and and so the angel doesn't say what the boundaries are going to be. Um, my hunch is it's going to be a West Coast socialistic country, East Coast socialistic country, Bible Belt going towards Florida. And then I like to see the Rocky Mountains going into Missouri and Illinois.
And
And
becoming the New Jerusalem.
yeah, now this is rhyming with 3rd Nephi chapters 6 and 7. When the wicked judges were killing the righteous prophets without permission, the wicked judges were caught and were going to be tried. However, the chief judge was murdered and the government collapsed and the people went into tribes. We can now see a connection with 3rd Nephi chapter 6 and 7 in our day. Trump is going after the wicked judges and many other wicked people. Trump is going to be broken. We won't go into tribes. We will split into four nations. And the brethren have told us that 3rd Nephi is going to have similarities to events leading up to the return of Christ.
Okay.
And now we can see right here, we're at chapters 6 and 7 right now. Huge connection. Okay.
There's also step back a little bit because this being said, it also reminds me of Book of Mormon prophecy about if the Gentiles don't repent. And then there's a lot of talk about the indigenous people coming up and taking back their lands. And so it may not be such a clean political split like you're suggesting, where it's like we got the liberals over here and we got the liberals over here and the conservatives here and there. Let's not forget about the indigenous people and their role in this.
And I don't. That is, those 35 chapters are my very favorite chapters. And
Okay,
for a message about the prophetic events. Okay. But we got to build the foundation first
sure.
before,
Sure,
before
I'm
we,
jumping ahead. Sorry, it's
yeah, and I don't talk about that in this presentation. And
okay.
this presentation is going to be about 2 hours or so, and but it's going to give us a great foundation to have other further great discussions on. I have a video about that already on my
Okay.
website.
Okay.
And now, but think about this. The federal government collapses, what's going to happen to Social Security, Medicare, prescription drugs,
Oh, that goes away.
welfare, and the list goes on?
That all goes away.
What states will be part of which of the four countries? If we don't have a military ready for our new country, China and Russia could easily attack us in a vulnerable time. To date, May 5th, 2025, I haven't seen action from one politician I have talked to over the past 20 years. We don't know when Trump will be broken. Perhaps it could happen as early as January 2026. Not a lot of time to prepare for the U.S. to split into four nations. You know the saying, prepare for the worst and hope and pray for the best. Please spread this far and wide as fast as you can. Please donate to help me get the word out and have conversations with politicians and candidates.
Well, for in order for this to happen by January 2026, I'm stating the obvious is that that war with Iran has to happen between now and December. And that's
And
all
with
that can happen
Turkey.
between now and then. But why are you so certain that it's going to okay, it could happen as early as January 2026, but it could be as
Could be later.
later. Yeah. But
Yeah.
sometime in the midst of the 4-year term of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. And and so many things ever since the year 2000, I thought would play out quicker than what they have. And yeah, but you know, but I knew so what I the chart isn't a timeline, it's an event line. So I don't know the timing of a lot of things, but we just know what events are going to happen next and next and next and next.
Yeah.
And but this part right here is so critical because so many people just feel like, oh, what's the use of knowing about the prophetic events? What's the use of lifting a pinky to do anything? Guys, as you're going to see, it's everything, and you'll see why. So please consider your loved ones and the millions of others to be affected by us splitting up into four nations. And so please spread the word and also donate. I can't stress this enough. This is not a typical podcast where we're just giving you some information and go back to sleep.
Well, what is the point of donating? What is the point of, what getting the word out so that we better understand the meaning of the scriptures so that we could watch the events unfold in real time and have a better understanding as to when Christ is going to come. But we don't really have much to do with forming the four new countries until these things happen, unless you're suggesting that we lay the groundwork for the new countries and figuring out how that's going to work together. And to
No,
me, that's where you come to the indigenous tribes and bringing them together, the unity of all of the indigenous tribes because of what it says in the Book of Mormon and how we are going to unite with them. That's where I go with this message that you're giving to me. Would you like to clarify something here?
And you're going with it, brother, and it's great. As we go on, we're going to validate what you're saying. Okay.
Okay.
And so we'll just keep on going with this, and you'll see why it's so important to get the word out. But everybody can start to see
Yeah.
by the Spirit
Your
why.
your request for the donation is basically to help you get the word out, to give you the funding so that you have a platform to get the word out to lots of people.
Yeah. And that poster that had the 210 prophetic points, and it has the check marks of all the ones that have happened and all the ones that we anticipate to happen this year.
Yeah.
This year we're going to have a total of 38 by the end of this year, around there. And so as we get these posters out to people, and as they watch your podcast and the other podcasts and other information that people are putting out to share this information, and those people are checking off another check mark, another check mark, another check mark, or maybe they're not, until their friends or their loved ones go, John, check off number 32. That just happened too. And I want you to think about how this can fan the flames of the greatest draw closer to Christ revival the world has ever seen, because more and more pastors are going to just flock to this because they can see, yep, that old interpretation, it was wrong. And this one here is playing out. And now you're going to start seeing all these different denominations talking about this. Daniel chapter 11, Daniel chapter 8 is about our day. And that's going to cause some Christians to go, oh my gosh, since when do all these denominations, churches all do a 180 and start talking about the same thing? And it's all about our day. That's about a succession of 8 kings. Oh my gosh, look at that. That prophecy just happened. Oh my gosh, that prophetic point happened too. When's the last time I've prayed? When's the last time I read the Bible? When's the last time I've gone to church?
So you're looking at a revival. You're
Huge.
looking at a Christian revival
across across the world. And
of
as
all
that
denominations.
all denomination, and as non-Christians look at this revival going on all around the world, they're going, wait a second, what's going on with these Christians? Oh my gosh, look at that. That did just happen. And that one just happened. Wow. Maybe I better check out this Jesus guy after all.
Yeah.
I feel we could grow Christianity from the 2 billion where we are to 3.5 billion over the next few years, just because of how huge this is.
Yeah.
And now you
This,
can
this whole
see.
this whole message of unity is just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, the whole Mitiga movement is about unity among the indigenous tribes, and they're uniting from northern Alaska all the way down to Patagonia and South America. And and they're uniting in religion, they're uniting in political cause, they're just uniting in everything. It's still in the early stages, but it's just building. And then one of the things that I've been told is that the indigenous leaders, this isn't necessarily, say, Chief Mitiga talking, but this is that they're all talking among each other, and they're all having the central theme focused around the peacemaker or Jesus Christ.
Yes,
Everybody is starting to look, I mean, in a very serious way, that the coming of Christ is happening soon, and that we all need to be together in this. We need to
that's
stop the infighting or external fighting of each other of, oh, I'm right about this particular point of doctrine or this particular piece. It's like we all need to be united in Christ. We all need to love each other. It doesn't matter what schism or what faction of belief you have about certain things. Focus on the doctrine of Christ, faith, repentance, baptism, baptism of fire, baptism of the Holy Ghost. um, and just focus on that and come together.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's a good place for us to take a few minute break. So let's go ahead and take a couple minutes and we'll get
Okay.
right back to it.